Hi, this is Philip Thompson, aka DJ Phil Does It. Today I want to talk about the 5, actually 6 best weddings that I've ever DJed. So the 6th best wedding that I ever DJed took place in March of this year, and it was at a venue called The Plant at Kyle. It's a really nice space, very quaint and remote and private. The thing that made this wedding one of the best ones I've ever done was that the taste of the bride and groom when it came to music was actually really good, and they were very vocal about what they wanted to hear and provided me with lots of playlists which had a lot of really good selections on them. They knew their guests pretty well, so they knew kind of what the guests wanted to hear. And at this event, there was a time when the dance floor really went off, and they were super receptive to sort of these 90s radio hits. I was able to blend certain songs together. Yeah, I had a period where just everything kind of fit together really nicely, and I got a really good crowd response. So that good dance floor, I think, was the thing that made that wedding one of my favorites. The 5th best wedding that I've ever DJed was done for the sister of a friend. And this wedding was at the Prospect House, which is in Dripping Springs, and you may know the Prospect House because of the giant sort of picture frame that they have out where the ceremonies take place. Everything just kind of went well. I ran sound and microphones for the ceremony, and that went very smoothly. I remember the food being amazing. When it comes to DJing, the thing that I remember most was going in with a particular plan about how I wanted to play things and how I wanted to end the event. And I worked the plan, and everything kind of came together. I went into the wedding aiming to spend the last hour of the reception playing just like party, like rock songs. We're talking like AC/DC, Journey. I played Ram Jam, and I went in with that agenda. Things went really well. Prospect House has an amazing indoor space. It's very large, and the lights and the look were very good. Everything looked really cool. That was the 5th best wedding I did. That was in February 2019 at the Prospect House. The 4th best wedding that I ever DJed was one of the weddings that I had to drive the furthest to get to. It was all the way out in Columbus, Texas, in an old Texas dance hall. Maybe a year later, I was watching a documentary about Texas dance halls, and this dance hall was featured, and the woman they spoke with was the venue coordinator. She was absolutely fantastic. She really made sure that everybody was in the right place and that everybody was sticking to the schedule. Everything went really well, and I felt that the coordinator did an exceptional job. It was only the 2nd country music wedding that I had ever DJed. I was introduced by the bride and groom selections to songs that are absolute staples of country radio. The requests were very good, so I was really happy being able to dip into a genre that I wasn't super familiar with and to have things go over really well. And they knew how to 2-step, and the dance floor went off really well. The other thing about this wedding that I think is very special was that I got to see something that I had only heard about. I had a consultation with a couple of clients in early 2019, and one of the clients made mention of a rural East Texas tradition, saying that you play the Cotton Eye Joe, specifically the Cotton Eye Joe with a certain dirty word still in it. The tradition is that you play the Cotton Eye Joe into the schottisch. And the schottisch, I was like, what's the schottisch? I couldn't even spell it right. It's like a bandstand parade kind of song, sort of like a polka. It's like a East Texas group dance tradition. But at this wedding, someone came up and they requested it. They were like, I want to hear Cotton Eye Joe into the schottisch. And so I got to play it, and I got to see people get down to this group dance tradition that I'd only heard of before. The other thing that I felt was really special about the Columbus, Texas country wedding, at the end, the groom came up to me and the groom thanked me for not playing music too loud. I think he had an ear implant, and so when he goes out, he doesn't like for things to be too loud because it's kind of painful for him. And my approach to DJing has always been that I'm not trying to overpower you and harm your ears. My aspiration is for the music to sound full-bodied and present so that it's loud enough for you to like get down and enjoy, but not painful. And so I felt really good having someone come up and like acknowledge that the sound was at the right volume at that event. So the third best wedding that I ever DJed was actually for a friend, somebody that I've known since my freshman year of college. And he had a ceremony and reception in Michigan, but was having an event in San Francisco just for his Bay Area friends. Since I had known this friend for such a long time, and we had geeked out on music all throughout college and even after college, we would sometimes exchange songs and talk about songs that we liked or talk about songs that were funny or strange. I had this giant personal musical history that I had built knowing this person to be able to play with as a DJ, and I took full advantage of it. When we were at his reception, I had built these playlists that were based on many of the songs that we had discussed between ourselves. And so I was able to like hit those must plays over the course of the evening. He kind of figured out what I was doing, and because he was in on the joke and because he knew the songs, he could sort of move the crowd to dance and to enjoy songs that were not conventional wedding songs. So I got away with playing all kinds of crazy stuff. I had a really good time playing stuff that you would never hear at a wedding. And that's one of the things that's really exciting, is because like people, they go to weddings and typically they hear the same songs. And so there's a lot of like excitement if you go to a wedding and you hear something that like seems totally out of place, but you also kind of love it. That's an exciting joke that you can share. That's why that was my number 3 favorite wedding. I got to geek out over music that I had been geeking out with my friend for more than a decade. The second best wedding that I ever DJed is the second best exclusively because of the open dance floor. The dance floor was consistent and everything was working really well. I played Jackson 5, people were requesting like Pitbull. The reception of the guests, it was really positive, and there was always just like a group of people, like a nice decent chunk of people that were always dancing to everything that I was playing. And it ended really powerfully in that last 30 to 45 minutes. Yeah, that wedding, it was in at the Green, I think it was called the Greens in San Antonio. Yeah, the dance party just went off. And at the end of the event, the venue manager came up to me and she was like, "Hey, you did a really good job." And she compared me to this other local DJ. And I was like, "I know that local DJ and she's incredible." And so it was a big compliment to be compared to this other person who I really look up to and admire, and who's very professional. All right, so the best wedding that I ever DJed. And this one was crazy. It was in Dripping Springs. I didn't do anything for the ceremony. They just wanted me to DJ the reception, and it took place under a giant tent. They hired me to run a vinyl bar, and I hadn't done it before. I brought a curated selection of a couple of large bins of vinyl records, since I collect a ton of vinyl records. So I brought a curated selection of these records to the event, and I allowed the guests and family members to dig through the records and to pick out records that they wanted to hear, hand them to me, and make requests. So I was dividing those between records I could play for cocktail hour, records I could play for dinner, and records I could play for the dance floor. Running the vinyl bar allows the guests at an event to actively shape the sound of the event. It's not quite like requests, because when you take a request, the person is they're listening to the music that's going on and they're thinking of a song and coming up and telling you the song that they want to hear. But if you have actual records there, then people can dig through the records, be like, "Hey, I know this is awesome, I want to hear this song." That was going on for cocktail hour and dinner. People were handing me records. And then when it came time for the dance party, I was able to give them that payoff, to play like a bunch of their dance floor requests, but that's not really the thing that made this wedding like super exceptional. The thing that made the wedding like totally insane and the best wedding I've ever DJed was how the dance floor went off. I don't know what these people were fed or what they were drinking, but they were loving everything. I was just playing, I don't know, like 80s music or like disco, Robin, LCD sound system, but everybody was so receptive and in such a positive mood that they were just like eating everything up. And also, I think it was the father of the bride. He came up to me and he was like, I want to hear In the Mood by the Glenn Miller Orchestra. Are you sure it's gonna work? And he was like, yeah. I played freaking In the Mood by Glenn Miller. The place went off. Like it had everybody dancing. It was so crazy. It's like basically like a swing dance song. They didn't know how to like swing dance. It still just like worked. That was so crazy, but yeah, those people were so receptive to everything I was playing, and I had such a good time. That was the best one. So I'm trying to think of some lessons that I can give you if you're planning your wedding reception and looking for a DJ. What advice can I give you so you can make the right choice? I would say pick a good venue, have a good space for dancing, know your guests really well. Know what they like, what they want to hear, and if you don't know them super well, then hire me to run the vinyl bar where people can just pick out the records that they want me to play. And then also make sure the lighting's right. The best wedding I ever did, and also I guess the second best one, the mood was adequately dark. But yeah, get the sound, get the space, get the lighting correct, so that people feel comfortable dancing. When it comes to hiring a DJ, hire somebody who is compatible with your tastes or compatible with the perceived tastes of your guests. You're going to want to hire a DJ that DJs and selects songs and mixes and phases of those songs in a way that you like. There's no cookie cutter best DJ to select. There's not like one person who can like do every party perfectly. Every DJ has the songs that they go back to, the songs that they really like to play, and so you're gonna want to listen to the sample DJ mixes that DJs provide to find the person who's right for you. And if you'd like to possibly book me, or you're curious about booking me, visit my website for more information, more videos, and definitely sample DJ mixes. It's phildoesit.com, and you can also just call me directly, and I'm happy to talk with you about DJing your event. I also host a weekly Twitch broadcast. I broadcast from 8 to 10 p.m. every Wednesday night on Twitch. My handle on Twitch is DJ Phil Does It. So those are the 6 best weddings that I've ever DJed. Thank you for watching.